Okay, today we're trying something a little different. Out on the boat today, and boy, it has been a slow day. You can see behind me here I have a rod holder set up on my gunnel rail. Ooh, what was that? Watching the rod tip twitching. That might be fish. What I'm doing is trawling a bottom bouncer along a ridge line. Just have my trawler motor running. I'm doing 1.1 miles an hour. I have a little bottom bouncer and then a spinner rig behind it. But as of yet, I have caught no fish. I'm working along on a ridge line. I'm in about 8 feet of water now, 8 to 10 feet. So I'm trying to keep it at a steady depth. And then I'm watching my sonar here, and then my rod tip here. That's why I have the rod set up on this side of the boat, so I can see it. I'm just using my remote from my trawler motor to steer the trawler motor and watch the rod tip. I haven't marked many fish at all. I caught one little bluegill all day, that was it. Really brutal. Tried throwing lures. I actually have a camera set up right there on my light pole. But man, this lake is rough during the summer. It's pretty rough. Nope, just marked a fish here. Sig towel and 10 foot. Marking a couple of fish there. I'm just watching my ridge and then following the contour of the ridge with the sonar here. So I'm following it on the map here. And then I'm watching the bottom content here. See some weeds there. That's a big clump of weed. There's a fish marked on the side of it right there. But now it's after dropping off 23 feet. $30 feet. That's a big fish sitting there. That could be a big cat. Now I'm gonna work my way down the opposite side of the lake and see what we can find. Lots of boat traffic today. It is just horrible, horrible. Actually, I think I'm gonna do one more line of trawling and head for the shore, and then I'm gonna go fish in the river or fish the canal. But I said to come out today and try to trawl and see what it was like. Look how the boat is waving around from the freaking wake. The boat wake. Oh, I hope you have your sea legs on. Here we go. All day it's been like this. I like this remote setup for that Minn Kota. It's called a co-pilot. So I don't need to use a foot pedal. I have a foot pedal for the trawler motor, but I can actually use the remote. I can change the speed and the direction just by sitting in the seat. So for just a trawling setup like this, it's really handy. But seeing as how we're not catching any fish, I'm gonna show you the rig setup that I have and see how it works. I'm working some quite big fish here. It's tough to say if they're following little pods of bait. They might be. We can see I'm in 66 feet of water and I'm not far from the shore. This is because there's big sheer drops here. See here, there's more. It could be just big fish cruising around pods of bait. So wavy. Here's the rig. Something just snafu'd my worm, so I gotta change my worm. So I had the rig out of the water. Okay, I'm using a relatively long rod. It's a trawling rod. It's 11 foot. Using a trolling reel, multiplier reel. I got 20-pound mono on there. plenty of shock absorption. Now here's the business end. Just behind me. This is a bottom bouncer. Have it connected to the main line with a swivel. This is 1.5 ounces of weight. You can see it's not painted in Fire Tiger. It's got a little propeller spinner here. This is a float, so it actually keeps it up off the bottom. So what it does is when it's in the water, it rides like that. Now I have another snap swivel here that I put on it, and I believe this is 15-pound mono again, and then it's got a spinner rig with a worm rig on the back of it here. Get a closer look at that. It has the little beads on it, and it's got a little silver spinner blade, so the blade spins when it's dragging through the water. And then it's got a double worm hook on it for running the night crawler, or you could put a shad or a minnow or whatever you want on it. But the idea of it is that the bottom bouncer, let me see if I can run it on the deck of the boat here. The bottom bouncer is running just above bottom, not on the bottom, you want it just above. So it's running like that, and it's trolling your bait directly behind it, so then the worm rig is coming right up behind it. So the bottom bouncer is riding flat, and then the worm rig is riding the same distance off the bottom, right behind your bottom bouncer. I'm going to put it in the water here and I'll show you how it runs. Okay, I'm hoping you can see that in the water. Get the sun behind me, but let's see it. You can see the bottom bouncer rig right there. Bring it up. Now it's just right just under the surface. So you can see there how it's turning away. And then right behind it you can see the spinner blade where the worm would be, the little silver link. So that's how it would, well, it's too high out of the water now. That's how you want it to ride in the water. So you can see how it stays upright. As far as what I can find now, you want like a 45-degree angle on your line. See how it runs now? And then the little flasher rig is behind it. So you would have a worm. I don't have the worm on it just yet, but you can picture that running on the bottom. That's what it's supposed to do. So mostly for walleye, but of course it's going to catch any sort of fish. See the rod sitting there. So I had the rod holder mounted on the side of the boat. You use different weights depending on the depth of water you're fishing and the speed you're fishing. The best speed that I found for it is about 1 mile an hour. Oh, like I said, today was brutal. Not one fish, one little bluegill is all I caught today. But this lake is tough in the summertime. It is tough, hard. You could fish a month here and not catch a fish. Nice and bright color. You're gonna get that rigged up. You can put another worm on it and we'll keep going for a little bit more. Gonna take a little break from fishing here out in the freaking sun. Show you something a little unusual you might not have seen before. I hold my rod here. You see the pole behind me right here. You think, what the hell is that for? It looks like a telephone pole, but there's no wires going to it. If you look closely at the top of it, it's actually an eagle nesting pole. That's what it's for. There's a big, almost like a shipping pallet on top of that telephone pole with supports on it. And that's what it's for. It's actually for eagles to nest on, because eagles make really large nests. So I have seen eagles here before. I have seen golden eagles and I've seen bald eagles. And we do get fish eagles. We get ospreys and stuff here too, but I thought that was pretty neat. I said I'd stick that in the video. Something that you don't ordinarily see. Testing out my new sunscreen. Seems to be working pretty good. Keeps you pretty cool. Keeps the sun off you. Stop your face from burning up. So you can always tell guys who fish a lot, they have suntan lines where their glasses are. Yeah, the sun is pretty brutal, but alright, time to fish on. Slow day today. Okay, we're back on solid ground. No more waves this time. I'm going to show you another rig here that I had rigged up today. Again, this was for trawling. Another bottom bouncer. So this is the rig. It's got the weight and the little wire arm. This keeps it clear of the bottom. So the idea with the arm is not to actually drag the bottom. It's just that if it, you know, touches rock or anything like that, it will, you know, bounce up off the bottom. You don't actually want it dragging the bottom, because then that will create a lot of dirt, and it's a little harder for this fish to see the lure, especially if it's close to the bouncer. So again, I have it rigged with a swivel. I have it rigged to the main line. So this is going to the fishing pole. Then you have the little bead spinner here. So this spins to attract fish as well, and it's brightly colored. This one I have rigged with a trace, wire trace, and then I have it back on a spoon. So the spoon is going to follow behind it, fluttering around, and it, you know, keeps it trawling straight back. It's not like this where you're trying to drag it so it will keep rising. This actually keeps it down in the water, so you can set this to whatever depth you want, like a downrigger, and trawl this behind your boat or out to the side of the boat, and then it will fish your bait, your lure, whatever you have on it, at a specific depth, which is very important. The three most important things: one is speed, one is depth, and then color. You can fine-tune color to you get more bites. You know, sometimes they will bite one color over another. So it can help if you have more than one rod trawling at different depths, so you can find the fish. We did mark some fish today, but man, it was a tough day on the water. Tough day. The lake where I was fishing fishes very hard in the summertime. You see me take bass and stuff out of there springtime, but it's pretty rough in the summer. It gets a lot of pressure. It gets a lot of boat pressure and a lot of fishing pressure, and the fish go to deep water, and you can fish 2 miles of shoreline on that lake and not catch a fish, and they can be all sitting in one spot on a shell bed, or you know, one particular point where you only have 5 or 6 fish, and you know, they're tough to find. It is pretty tough, but hey, it is what it is. You know, you're not going to catch them sitting on the sofa either. But you can change these baits too on the back of your rigs. You could also run something like the shad, little paddle-tail shad. This is weighted, so it's almost like a Cisco or an alewife, or a sawbelly. Those are the type of fish that I have, you know, bait fish around here. They do have regular shad as well, not in all the lakes though. Forage fish here would be sawbellies, alewives, minnow, perch, bluegill. Not all the lakes here have shad. Like shad is pretty prevalent in the south and the west, but not all the lakes here have shad. So, but bait fish are bait fish. I mean, they're all pretty similar. I could also run a bucktail spinnerbait on it, maybe, if you wanted to. This is for muskie or pike. Big Colorado blade on there. Noisy and flashy with the hair on the back. Natural deer hair too, because it really produces bubbles and looks alive in the water. Works pretty well. But yeah, I'm pretty new to trawling. Trawling is something new for me. My wife and kids have got these bottom bouncers from me for my birthday, so I said I was going to give them a try and see what we can do with them. I have the boat, why not use it, you know? At the moment, I only have one rig set up, so I can have this pole set to the offside of my driver's seat, so I can see when I'm, you know, moving along in the boat. I can watch this pole pretty easily. It'd be much harder for me to watch a pole that would be on the other side, because it would have to be behind me. But I have 2 poles of different lengths. This one is 8 foot, and the other one I have is 11 foot. So I could trawl 2 lures on the same side of the boat, and have them different width from the boat. But there's also another tool you can use for that, which is one of these. This is a planer board. So what it would do is it would actually clip on the line. So this rod is made to run on this side of the boat. If I flip it over my head there, this is made to run on this side of the boat, and this board is made to run on this side of the boat. So what you would do is snap your line through it this way, There's a little ball clip on the bottom of it, so it runs through the ball clip like that. And then there's a clip here that holds the line. So now what it does is there's a little spring clip. So if you can imagine the boat is in the water, this is shaped like a wing. So the water is going to flow over this side and it's going to push it away from the boat. So as I'm trawling it, my lure is going to be down below it, like so. Lure is going to be, we don't have to have a bottom bouncer, you can just have a lure for this, although the bottom bouncer is going to help control the depth of my lure, especially some of the lakes here I fish are pretty deep. The lake I was on today, the deepest spot is 150 foot. So you can definitely trawl 50-60 foot of water pretty easily in that lake. It's shelved pretty hard. It can shelve right off the bank literally into 30-40 feet of water, so it is pretty deep. It's not a natural lake, it's man-made, it's a flood impoundment. So natural lakes sometimes, although I mean, you're dealing with the lakes and the Finger Lakes and stuff, they can be pretty deep. But natural lakes sometimes are not usually that deep. But this is how this runs. So what it's going to do is when the boat is moving forward, which will be this way, the water's planing over the board here and it's pushing it away from the side of the boat. So I can let as much line off of the rod as I want, and I could have this 50-60 feet off the side of my boat. Now the idea behind that is when you're cruising along in the boat, and especially in shallower water, and you drive over fish with the boat, the fish are going to spook out from underneath the boat and they're going to go to either side of the boat, and then this is going to be waiting for them. So you would have one on that side or two on that side, and then you would have two on this side, two on the port, two on the starboard, have all your bases covered. And hopefully when they flee from underneath the side of the boat, they're going to run into your lure or run into your bait, dragging out, you know, off to the side of the boat at whatever depth you're running it. It does take some calculation, you know, for speed and depth to how deep you have your line set. What you would want to do is use your sonar and mark the fish on the sonar, and you know, run your lures at the depth you're seeing most of the fish. It's pretty common sense. Like I said, it's something I'm going to experiment with. It's pretty new to me. I mean, I'm a lure fisherman, so trawling is that's a whole different science. But we're going to give it a go and see what we can do with it. Pretty cool setup though. Gotta keep trying it, right? Maybe the next time we'll hammer them. Another piece of equipment I've been trying recently. I actually made these up myself. It's a trace, but it's not steel. It's fluorocarbon, but it's very heavy fluorocarbon. As you can see, it's really thick. This is for pike. Of course, I deal with a lot of pike and pickerel in the waters I fish, even the waters that contain bass, full of pike and pickerel. Lots of pickerel. Not so many big northern pike, but lots and lots of pickerel. And they've got sharp teeth. So you can lose a lot of very expensive lures very quickly to those fish. But this is actually 100-pound fluorocarbon. It's leader for sea fishing. Pretty expensive for a spool, but as you can see, it's pretty flexible. It doesn't kink like the wire. It's pretty thick and it's hard. It is hard. This, like I said, this is pretty heavy. Of course, common sense would say that you look at the line, if you do get fish on it, and see if it's cut, and if it gets cut, change it. I didn't tie it. You can actually see I have it crimped both ends. I have it crimped. Ooh, you're getting flashed from that blade, the old chatterbait. So it's proven so far to be pretty strong. I haven't had any issues with it yet. But these fish, man, they will cut. I mean, usually I'd use main braided line, and their teeth are so sharp. It's like if they touch that braided line, it's cut like a razor. But this stuff is pretty abrasion resistant. I know a lot of people are on the fence, especially for muskie. Muskie, if you're purposely fishing for muskie, I would probably use a steel leader, a titanium leader. That's what I have on my big pike rods and my musky rods, I use titanium. I don't know whether I'd use even 100-pound fluorocarbon. Would I trust it? I'd have to test it a little bit more. I see a lot of guys using this on YouTube, and I said, you know what, I'll give it a go on some of my smaller, lighter gear. Never want to lose a lure and a fish, you know, that's just not good. But this stuff, like I said, this is Suffolk's 100-pound fluorocarbon, and it is very, very tough and very abrasion resistant. I even tried biting it myself. It's like, wow, it's like trying to bite steel. So the verdict is not in yet, but I'm gonna keep testing it and see what it does, see how it works. So far so good. It's invisible too. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to try it, was because it's much harder to see under the water than steel. Now, like I said, if I'm fishing for bass, especially for smallmouth, they can be pretty spooky, and whereas a pike or a pickerel is not worried about by that wire trace, sometimes the bass will see that and they'll turn off and they won't bite it. So usually I fish a trace anywhere I go, because you always run the risk of hitting a pike or getting a big pickerel and he's going to cut that bait right off. So it's really not worth that. But so far so good. I really like the fluorocarbon leader, but put some more time in it and see how it works out. Alright, time to check my boat and make sure my daughter didn't sneak a banana on here. Get the banana out of the boat for next time. Hope I gave you some good information at least, and see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.